microphones? Or?
No, I recorded on my phone.
Oh, the quality sounds okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh, we're starting. What do you think? What? Welcome back, everybody. This is not Jack. Today is Jack's 2-year anniversary of owning Made in Coffee Roasters, so I've cornered him and have come up with surprise interview questions that I'm making him answer on the spot. If you're hearing this, that means that this ended up coming out well. Otherwise, this is just going to stay in his recordings app. So we're just going to get into it. We don't have any coffee, but I hope you do. So we're just going to get right into it. You don't know any of the questions I'm going to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you to start your coffee business? And how has that vision evolved over the past 2 years?
I actually didn't start my own coffee business. I bought this from somebody who had already started their own coffee business, and they weren't very interested in it anymore after COVID.
Well, I guess what is it that inspired you
To do that?
to buy it when they were selling it and to kind of take that leap of buying a business maybe you didn't have any experience in before that?
I was working in a bar at the time and DJing, and I just realized that I didn't like what I was doing and the lifestyle that I was living either. It was coming up on my 6th year of working in a bar. That was also a club, and I was getting pretty tired. You don't have to touch the phone. It stays recording, even if it goes off. But I was getting tired of it, and I wanted to change into something else, and I started this coffee reviewing side project on Instagram that gained a little bit of traction, and I wanted to do that. So I bought a sample roaster for like $1,000, and then I was asking people if they knew any commercial space to roast out of, and then I ran into the owners that used to own Made in Coffee, and after 9 months, I bought them out.
So how has your vision of owning this coffee business evolved over the past 2 years?
At first, it was very vague what I wanted to do. It was just sounded good, basically. After working in this industry for a couple of years, I realized where I thought there was a lack in coffee, and I wanted to focus on that because I thought there were some gaps that we could fill.
So around what time did you start to really make it your own and kind of move away from like the already practices that were set in place by the other owners?
Yeah, probably the end of year 1. I mean, there's a pretty good foundation there, so I didn't have to do much to change anything. But I was
biting my nail.
No, I don't think so. I think you're fine. But after year 1, I was still working the other job while doing this because there were a couple employees that I had to pay, and I guess I was just nervous. So once it got to the end of year 1, the main roaster that I had on told me that she was going to be getting a different job. So I think, to be honest with you, like, I was still nervous to kind of like learn a lot of the aspects of the business. So I just kind of paid other people to do it. And then I realized pretty soon that I was going to have to figure it all out myself one way or another. So I might as well just do it now and do it sooner than later. I think the more that I really got involved in doing everything that was a part of the business, the more that I realized, you know, where there were certain things that, you know, other coffee companies weren't doing, and I could maybe do a better job at. And, you know, I saw a lot of companies say that they were all about sustainability, but really weren't doing anything that made them about that. So, you know, I started really focusing on things that we could be doing that show that we cared about those types of things. And luckily we have a couple cool ones that are launching pretty soon that I think people will be excited about. So,
trying to plug already.
Trying to plug them.
I don't want to like put words into your mouth, but I feel like also like the pressure and the stress. Come in.
Are you going to the gym, Jack?
I feel like the pressure and the stress of paying, like, I don't know if you want to talk about this, you can cut it off if you want, but paying the loan every month, like, I feel like at first it was, like, not exciting, but, like, this new thing that is, like, you just, like, had to do to have this business, but I think over time, like, the pressure of it mounting with, like, your personal finances and then, like, the business finances, like, I don't know, like, I feel like you kind of came to realize, like, okay, I'm paying for this, like, this should at least be my own and my own ideas. The pressure of the money adding up.
Yeah.
Probably also, you were like, I might as well, make this my own.
Yeah, I think
If
too.
I'm paying.
Yeah, I was also kind of advised by the previous owners that like I should keep this kind of like on the down low. Again, I don't want to like put words in their mouth, but it was more of something that was just like, just kind of move into this and don't say anything. And I kind of realized that that wasn't the right approach with that sort of thing, especially if you're working wholesale with clients. It's like, you're supposed to have a good relationship with all the people that you work with, especially if you're in that close of business together. So just being as honest as possible and just making it pretty clear that this is exactly what's happening, I still think is the best policy.
Yeah.
And I try to do that with all the customers that we have too. Like, I think even talking to that guy, John Cos, the last interview we did, really kind of emphasized, like cemented that idea for me of just, even in your shortcomings, just be as like transparent as possible.
So here's another question that I think you're going to have a hard time answering, but I think it's a good one. Can you share a moment or milestone over these past 2 years that made you feel especially proud of yourself?
Probably getting out of credit card debt.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the best one, I'd say. Yeah, when I don't think I've ever talked about this before, so this is probably a good topic. But when
now that you're out of it, you can talk about it.
I know, yeah, right, because that was brutal. When I first got as a small business loan and bought these guys out, I like realized that as a business, you have to have 10% of revenue in your bank account at all times. And there's also a lot of other things that are just unforeseen expenses that you don't realize. So I racked up a pretty hefty amount of credit card debt on my business credit card. It was like between 20 and 30 grand. And slowly but surely just chipped away at it for 2 years. And finally, in the beginning of this year, I got it paid off. And it was like one of the most relieving feelings I've ever had since first getting the actual money to buy them out, of just being like, okay, I have some room to breathe now, where, I'm not having to pay like the minimum each month on these card payments. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, you said something that made you proud of yourself.
Yeah.
This is not a question on here, but picking off of that, like maybe for someone who's in credit card debt, whether it be in their business or personal, how did you figure that out? Like, who were some people that helped you kind of make a plan and figure out what to do?
Yeah, I mean, what? Dave Ramsey, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, like a lot of people, debt is a pretty controversial topic. Everyone has their own theory about debt, but like I would say for the hefty majority of people, like you're not an entrepreneurial wizard and you're not like this expert with your credit. And a lot of people have credit card debt. So I would just say to anyone that's looking to especially do their own business is just stay out of debt whenever you can. If you can just avoid debt altogether in buying your business, which probably isn't realistic, do it. Just try to minimize it as much as possible. It's never a bad idea to just be sitting on cash and banking it young. I just hate debt, and I think that just for the feeling alone of feeling like you don't owe anybody anything, I think it actually carries over into the way that you handle business too. So I would say anybody that I give credit to knowing that is Dave Ramsey. I listen to a lot of his like podcasts. His Entree Leadership podcast is great for anyone that's just learning more lingo of just owning a business. Yeah, it's great. He's like an old money guy, just understands like how to slowly become financially successful. So I think, again, for anyone in any business, that those types of things are helpful.
Stop with whatever you're doing with your eyebrows. It's freaking me out.
Sorry. Alex Hormozy is great too for sales. So I'd say those two guys.
And I feel like also putting in the effort, and even if it's a little bit more money at first, of finding a really good accountant that you can like talk to and explain things. So I feel like your accountant, I don't know how you found him, and maybe you can talk about that. I don't know if it was through like a friend or you just found him.
No, it's from one of the old owners.
Oh, yeah. So I feel like he also just really explained things to you and like helped you slowly look through everything, and it wasn't so all at once. Maybe. Yeah,
an accountant's basically like a step down from a lawyer, I'd say, just because they have a really good pulse on just having general ideas with your business. So I would say right after, look for a good certified personal accountant. I don't know where you could get them. Again, I got really lucky, but I'm sure if you just Google like CPAs in my area, my accountant, he probably doesn't want me to say his name.
Never mind. Ghost accountant.
Yeah, but like I don't think they're that much. I mean, they're not. It's $1,500 a year. So I'd say it's worth every penny just to have a good understanding on like how you can save money at the end of the year and paying taxes, because taxes are brutal.
And I know you have a lot of, and like we can cut some of this out, but I feel like this is good too. Like, I see you have like a lot of different sheets, like whether it's like QuickBooks or just like an Excel sheet or Google sheet, where you kind of keep track of everything. I don't know. Like, you tell me, like, is that helpful? Like, do you think to someone who's in debt, does it help them come up with a plan and organize better, like, what they're going to do by, like, seeing everything tracked out? Or would you say that is, like, a waste of time? Like, is it worth getting QuickBooks or making an Excel sheet and, like, organizing everything to kind of see where your money's going? Or is there less time-consuming ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to have QuickBooks or to just make Excel sheets of, like, a weekly logs. I think those are great things to have to kind of, again, keep a pulse on everything and just to keep yourself in check more or less. But I think you can also get to a point where you're obsessing over it too much, and that could be detrimental. Like, I'm at the point now where I feel like I look at our weekly total of the amount of pounds of coffee we sell too much, and I almost want to stop looking at it, because that's not the point. After a certain point, it's just not the point. You know, we have better goals in mind. Like, we have bigger things that we want to do, and I think just naturally you grow as a company when you start to have a larger focus. I know that's like a crappy answer, and most people just want to know, like...
Well, you came up with a plan, this is from what I know, of like what you're going to take out personally versus like keep, and then you even adjusted that to take out like even less for your personal and like dedicate a certain amount towards the credit card debt. Like, that was a plan that you came up with towards the end when you really wanted to get rid of it. I guess, like, how did you come up with that plan? Was it just like you, like, common sense looking at your finances, or like did a sheet help? Like, how did you come up with that plan?
I think just like for something like sense? I think the best way to handle something like that is just to do it every day. So like, I remember talking to my friend. He was like the only one I knew that had a credit card that was like very on top of it. Mike Povolitis. We got lunch one day and we were somehow talking about credit card debt, and he's like, oh yeah, I just pay mine off immediately after. I pay it. Like, anytime I make a purchase on my card, like, I pay it off right after. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense with like a personal credit card. But then I thought, like, well, why don't I just do that with my business card? Like, anytime I make a purchase, just pay it off the same day. So every single day I would make some payment, or I would check what type of payments, because you just don't think about these things. Like, a lot of the subscriptions you make that you think are beneficial that you just end up not using, they really do add up. And if you're not used to making a large amount of money each month, or just a large amount of revenue each month, you know, you think that you're invincible because you bring in like $50K a month or $40K or whatever it comes out to be. And then you realize that like all these little things add up over and over again. So yeah, just doing it every single day and staying on top of it, I would say, is the best advice.
Are there any surprising trends or customer favorites that have come up since your business has launched? So I guess, like, I don't know, what you thought about coffee beforehand versus now. Like, would that be interesting to talk about? Like, anything surprising that customers like or are asking for that you've kind of had to, like, make a priority that you wouldn't think you had to? Or...
No, I don't know if anything surprised me. I mean, you know, sometimes the single origins that we release are surprising with which ones sell out so quickly, because that's usually always the one that I expect the least. It's usually always the ones that I like the most are the ones that don't sell that well. But it's the ones that I usually don't even have a second thought about sell very well. So that's surprising. I think that it's like anything that you really think about that you would want within a product, somebody else probably does too. More than likely they do too, as far as it goes, just with convenience and ease of use. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, everybody wants what they want quickly and easily. So if you could just focus on that and how you could do things without people really having to put a second thought to it so that it's just as easy as possible for them, I think you'll never go wrong with that.
Okay, so next question would be, what role has your local community played in your success?
I mean, everything, to be honest with you. The bummer is that we don't really do much besides try to send extra gifts and orders and update them first on what's going on. You know, I wish we were able to offer in-person pickup at a roastery. We got a bad review from a guy one time. It's like our last review that we have on Google, where we weren't able to give him coffee because we're just not zoned for that. And I wish we could do that, and I would like to, and that's one of the things we have planned, is doing more in-person events as we grow, because obviously we wouldn't be able to have this if we didn't have people buying our coffee online or creating subscriptions or buying from their local cafes that we sell to. So I mean, it's everything. Obviously, it's not really what I think about it. It just kind of is what it is. So I think we definitely could do a better job at that, and that's one of the things that we would like to do, especially when we eventually move out of our current space and into a larger one.
Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently over these past 2 years? Probably a few.
Yeah, I mean, anything that I wish I did differently, like, I think exposing yourself to stuff that's really uncomfortable, like firing an employee or, like, you know, sales. Prices. Yeah, raising prices.
Having, like, a hard conversation.
Pitching to people that have never met you or heard of you before. I think that's the best way to learn the most about yourself and your product. Find out what people find interesting about what you're selling, and doing that, and it's just like raw, most pure form, is really hard but really important. So I wish I did more of that, and I am going to do more of that this year, especially. I think just confronting difficult things, I wish I did more of it, and I would still like to do more of it.
How do you stay inspired?
God. Can I not say that? Yeah. Getting your wife pregnant and then having her be 38 weeks pregnant.
The full question is, how do you stay inspired to innovate in the coffee industry?
Innovate.
But I guess in general, like, how do you stay inspired to, like, keep upping your standards and growing? Like, how do you stay inspired every day to keep up? Because I'm sure it's hard to keep up with something like coffee.
I don't know. Everybody has, like, their own motivation. And I think the biggest thing is, like, sometimes your motivation is being upset or angry about something, and I think that's fine too. Like, I don't know if it's as common anymore, but especially when I was first getting into this, everyone was like, you know, be inspired, or like be motivated by what you do every day. Find things that inspire you, and a lot of times for me, it was hard to find that. Like, I get very worn out pretty easily from like little clips on social media that you find inspiring. So I would say just find more real life things that apply to your situation that you can easily apply to what you're going through. Like, obviously, like, having you is really helpful, because the person that you're spending every day with is going to be the biggest voice and the voice that you hear most often. So finding somebody that you really enjoy being around and motivates you to be better, I think that is the best thing that you could do. Finding somebody. I mean, there's been studies on that. So.
And I think also that can also relate to, like, famous people, and I feel like not to get all like psychology, but I feel like for like younger men, it's like hard to admit that like other young men or men are like inspiring to you, but I feel like that has like helped you, like Alex Hormozi or like Jordan Peterson, like just learning from other people who have successfully done what you want to do. I mean, it's just as obvious. Like, you're obviously then gonna like watch their stuff and see what they did and then try it out. Yeah. Like, you're gonna trust them over like someone who has not been that successful yet. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, people that are already at a level of wealth or like freedom, just in general, they've obviously done something right. So even if they're not doing exactly what you want to be doing, or you're not going to be able to get to it the same way, find certain patterns in their behavior. Like, you know, a morning routine isn't necessarily going to make you $1 million, but it's going to make you mentally strict in your decision making, and
Well, it gets you to work too.
Yeah.
The difference between me and you sometimes.
right.
Like you're able to just like get things started and get to work instead of like procrastinating, and then it's like
Yeah.
noon and everything just is not happening.
Yeah. I think more than anything, like finding what it is about your situation that makes you different, that either gets you upset or just triggers some sort of emotional response. You don't have to have some superhero arc background to find success in what you're doing. Like it can be little things that just, again, stir a emotional response from within you.
What do you believe sets your coffee business apart from others?
You know, right now it's this podcast and our blogs and our posts on Instagram. I think we have really unique designs. I like the coffees that we contract. They're pretty unique. We always have a new single origin on every month. So I think our business model is pretty unique. Eventually, I would like to get to the point where when people talk about Maiden, it's about the things that they're doing and how blunt we are. I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but
Yeah, I was gonna say like consistency. Like without being biased, I do think your coffee like is pretty consistent. Like with the quality and the standard and the design. Like I think everything is pretty consistent.
yeah.
And I think that is actually really hard to find in like a local small brand. Like I can't really think of any other like small coffee roastery around here that is like consistently good and
Yeah.
like high quality. That and like any other ones that have, they're all like big or have been like bought out. Like I think it's really rare, at least right now and in our area, to have like something that's like kind of like luxurious and bougie, I guess, like with the price and like is really good, but is still like pretty. Like actually just like a roastery in Neptune that you can't even buy coffee from if you go in person. Like it's both.
Yeah.
You want more or no?
Maybe let's just do one more if there's any ones that stick out.
So these are two you can talk about. It's like, what are your goals for your business in the next 2 years? Or are there any new offerings, collaboration, or projects you're particularly excited about that are coming up in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be changing over into tin cans for our single origin offerings at some point. That's to cut down on our just plastic use and also offer some sort of reusability aspect to all of our coffees within the coffee shops that we sell to, and hopefully our own roastery. And yeah, we're also going to be offering in-person tastings pretty soon, like cuppings at the roastery. But we'll probably keep that super limited to start, at least. So
Itching my butt.
that's all right. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, we'll keep it simple for now.
How do you end it usually?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Should we do it say it at the same time? Like harmonize?
No. Just end it how you want.
No, I want to say it at the same time.
Thank
you guys
for listening.
We
Talk
appreciate.
to you.
Wait, I thought you said we appreciate comes before that. You ready?
I don't want to do
One more
this.
time.
Thank you guys for listening. We really
We
appreciate it. And I will
talk to you again very soon.